SmackDown after WrestleMania 42, we already expected some releases, but the fact that they released half the damn SmackDown roster during before SmackDown even started was crazy. But the thing was that we literally start off the show with Triple H's adaptation of the Bloodline. But the thing is, they're not even on SmackDown. They're Raw superstars, but they're supposed to be a brand split. Jacob Fatu magically appeared on Raw and became a Raw superstar with no superstar shakeup, no announcement on TV at least, no draft, no nothing. Just randomly appearing on Raw. We'll have EO be on SmackDown. We'll have the Usos on SmackDown. We'll have Jacob on Raw. But it's weird, and nobody seems to pay attention to this. But like the brand split is still active, so the fact that Raw and SmackDown people can just show up is just kind of it throws a wrench in the whole plot of there's still a draft. And sorry, there's still a brand split. So I mean, hell, if they don't care, then I can't really care really. But we get the Usos being heels in this promo. They called Jimmy Uso called the entire audience fools, and then after, I think it was Jay who said "ye," and then the crowd said "ye." So after they just called you fool, after the Usos called the audience fools, they cheer. It's just like when Stephanie Valkyrie was defeated by Liv Morgan at WrestleMania due to heel interferences and heel tactics. The crowd chanted "You deserve it" on the Monday night after. On the Monday night after Liv Morgan cheated to win the women's world championship, the audience said, "You deserve it. You deserve it. You deserve it." Train bots, NPCs, whales. These fans are stupid. These fans, I mean, the audience, I swear the audiences will chant for Gunther like they did after he defeated Randy Orton. Gunther spent weeks talking about Randy's family, and then he shook hands, and the crowd said, "You deserve it." Like, bro, the audience, bro. But then they're the same people who people talk about. Well, to be fair, so and so is really over, and then they'll say, "Well, yeah, well." At the same time, the audience will cheer for anyone. The audience cheers for people after they insult them. John Cena literally talked about the crowd when he was a heel and they still cheered. Like, what are we talking about? The audience is just there for a good time, not a long time. That audience is so damn useless. Anyways, after the Usos get done talking crap about the audience and talking about how the audience doesn't matter, and not to listen to these fans, but to listen, and pretty much trying to get Jacob to talk about, joining the bloodline or whatever. And then the MJFs come out, and then the MJFs are standing in front of the Usos and Jacob, and then Tama Tonga takes the microphone from. This is just a whole bunch of hoopla, bro. All this is just a baby. All it is Triple H running back Vince and Paul Heyman's concept bloodline, but just having them faces and going against the MJFs. That's all. Just going against the MJFs. That's what I'm calling for now on. And then on top of that, we have more releases, during this time that I'll go over. And then we get Julia backstage, but Julia has been made an absolute jobber. So we already knew that she was going to lose the title. And then we get Kiana James talking for Julia. But then on top of that, Julia can speak good. She can speak good English. But then on top of that, they're having Kiana James be in the forefront whenever there's a dynamic between Julia and Kiana James. Kiana James is presented as the star, but she's the manager, and she's in the managerial role. She got the big spot, Samoan dropping Nia Jax at the Royal Rumble. She got a spot in the Elimination Chamber. Julia gets nothing. Julia gets nothing creatively. Julia just gets shafted every single time. Nothing short of tonight. Because when it was Tiffy time, we had Julia be defeated by Tiffany Stratton, who's, in my eyes, a leech to the business because she's stated multiple times she has no desire to wrestle any longer. She wants to go to Hollywood. She's using pro wrestling as a stepping stone. She doesn't want to wrestle into her 30s. But then you give somebody like her a championship, a mid-card title, when Julia lives and breathes this business. Julia loves this business. Julia, her heart is in it. Tiffany Stratton's heart isn't, and she's made that abundantly clear. She's waiting to go to Hollywood so she can just leave wrestling behind in general. But then you give her the title over Julia. That's what I mean, boy. That's what I mean. That's what I mean right there. Bro, the fact that Julia had the longest, she was the longest reigning champion on the main roster up until tonight, up until last night. But here's the thing. She's only had one defense, and that was against Alexa Bliss. And her second defense, she loses it to someone who doesn't even like wrestling like that. Tiffany Stratton says she doesn't like wrestling like that. So that's not me reaching or hating or anything. She said it from her mouth. I just don't get it, bro. I just don't understand why these decisions keep being made. It's hard for me to understand. But then, at the same time, it's like these titles aren't even prestigious anyways because they go out of their way to not even have them on the show when it comes to the pay-per-views and stuff. This championship has been around since December 14th, 2024. It's 2026. We're approaching May and still no defense on the. Zelina Vega she actually wanted to defend it in AAA, but WWE said no, and then she just had to lose it again to shit. It really upsets me because it's like the stars they try to put themselves more over than the company ever would. Like they try their hardest to put more effort into themselves that the company doesn't want to put them in. It's so stupid. There's no way that Julia just needs to go, because WWE, not everyone's supposed to be in WWE. Not everyone's a perfect fit for WWE. WWE is not a perfect fit for Julia. She was like number 2 out of 250 women, women's pro wrestlers of the year at one point. And now she's just reduced to this. It's not, and then I see fans who only watch WWE, so their opinions automatically don't matter when it comes to Julia, and then they'll say, "Well, to be fair," because whenever I hear "to be fair," there's always a stupid, brain dead, can't say that on YouTube, just idiotic response to Julia's booking to defend it, and it's, "Well, to be fair, she's not over with the audience. She gets crickets." Bitch, don't you understand that just because somebody doesn't get crickets is not always their fault? Probably it's because she's been dealt with scraps. Probably because, I don't know, her booking's trash. They don't know what to do with her. They don't know what type of star they got with Julia. They keep her heel when it's clearly not working. If anything, it's an abomination that Stephanie Valkyrie and Julia are not on the same level at this point on the main roster. She's supposed to be something bigger. Go and watch Julia's work from 2023, 2024, 2022. You'll see what I'm talking about. Go watch when she shaved her head and gave herself the Britney Spears special from 2005. I guarantee you'll eat your words. I don't understand those people who don't watch any other promotion but WWE. They never even heard of a New Japan. They trash AEW without even watching it. They don't even watch NXT. They only watch Raw and SmackDown. And then they say, "Well, to be fair, Julia, it's her fault why she's not over. Creative is trying their best. She's just an Io Sky knockoff. I've even heard stupid things like that. She's an Io Sky knockoff. Same people who never watch any other promotion with WWE. they say is Julia's fault while she has crickets. Bitch, please. No, it's not. Anyways, we get Danhausen infiltrating the Miz's house. Now, usually Danhausen is the best part of the show because the rest of the show never really takes place outside the arena or ringside. And if it's backstage, is in Nick Aldis's office or a pull-apart brawl when we have two people brawling and the security pulling them apart, and then the segment ends. So then we get we get the Miz opening his door, and then to see who it is, and Danhausen is already in his house. And then after that, Danhausen infiltrates the Miz's pool, and this is hilarious because then after that, he tries to tackle Danhausen, and then Danhausen kind of just ducks out the way, and then then he falls into the pool, and then he tries to get some brown sugar or cinnamon or something like that, and then he tosses that at Maurice, and he almost causes the Miz to sleep on the couch. That was great. But yeah, Danhausen is great, and then he says something like he saw his Cybertruck, and he said, "Oh, spaceship. Oh, that's super rich." And then he rolls off on the bicycle, and that was apparently Miz's daughter's bike. That was great. Danhausen is usually the top part of the show because the rest of the show is garbage, and it doesn't help the fact that they have no creativity in their bodies, so they just release all the talent on the roster. So you mean to tell me that this is already the worst wrestling show of the week, not including Collision, but this is the wrestling show of the week. The worst wrestling show of the entire week, and then I don't know, just eliminate half the roster. So now you're wearing your roster thin that was already thinning. Makes total sense. And no, it was not TKO who handpicked these people. TKO needs to cut down on the money and everything. But Triple H has been reported to, he even said it himself, he handpicks the people. Him and Nick Khan handpick who gets released and who's not. TKO just make the call to fire people. But anyways. We get Brie Bella coming out when Tiffany has a promo after the match, which I don't really understand why they have these, but it's whatever. Tiffany Stratton winning the title is stupid to me because her heart's not in it at all. Her matches are still pretty wonky and janky because she's just not her heart's not in it. But it's not my business. And then we get Charles Robinson coming down, and then we get a face versus 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 face. Charlexa versus the Bella Twins. Well, not the Bella Twins, but Paige and Brie Bella. Cool. I mean, the reason I don't care about Charlotte and Alexa matches is because they always end up in some sort of brawl, some sort of interference to where we'll have either Lash Legend or Nia Jax or some other heel team taking out it's just come on now. Why are we supposed to care? I don't understand why we're supposed to care. But the Photoshop, is bad. And the fact that they used her, I think it was Bree's 2016 render or something that they used. It was very lazy. The fact that they just photoshopped it on instead of just having WWE's. I remember they used AI for Jade Cargill's Wrestlemania poster, so they covered it up. Her title it was WWM or something like that because it was AI. I don't get why they can't just have these people. Anyways, but yeah. Charlotte and Alexa, their booking doesn't break tradition because their tradition is to have an interference. So what do? We have an interference, and we have JC Jane and the rest of a Fatal Influence take them out. Just it was a cool way to introduce them or whatever. But I mean, come on, man, an interference every time Charlotte and Alexa are in the ring is just so diabolically lazy, and it's crazy to me. I just don't understand. So then we get a segment with Rolls Royce car keys, and he pretty much just saying that his story, and about how he's the best, like, and he's the best person in his city, and he takes what he wants, and he cries some more, and his family loves him, and yeah. That like that's it. The same thing. They're gonna run this into the. They've already run this into the ground. And then they had the dude who who's been jobbed out for a while, even though he had a lot of potential in the name of Berto. Destroy this man pretty much. To get a lot of offense in on Royce Keys when he's supposed to be the dominant monster debuting. So that WWE kind of just destroyed his momentum already. And then they had him win a useless battle royal, which damn near everybody who's won the battle royal of the Andre the Giant Memorial is not even in the company anymore. Baron Corbin, Cesaro, so on. So I mean, I don't understand why that's supposed to matter. Like the way they're doing Royce Keys is insane. And then on top of that, they had the dude not even they gave it took them 2 months to not even give him an official roster render. So yeah, after they had the dude talking about his story, and it reminded me of Cody Rhodes, bro. I remember Cody Rhodes was talking about finishing his story, and then he'd cry at every promo. Speaking of the devil, we get Cody Rhodes, doing his woe, and then the audience cheers for him a little bit, and then they start booing him, and then they cheer him, and then they boo him, and then because the crowd like the SEAL training was starting to wear off, so they were starting to boo him a little bit. But the thing is, Cody Rhodes was talking about how outsiders, they are 3-1 for failing. I think they're like, he said something about 0-3 or something about outsiders coming in and destroying him at WrestleMania. And Cody Rhodes, he's undefeated when it comes to that at WrestleMania, and how his WrestleMania. I'm about, bro, The Rock beat you night one of WrestleMania. Roman Reigns beat you WrestleMania 39. John Cena beat you WrestleMania 41. With the help of Travis Scott, who's an outsider. What are you talking about, bro? Man, the fact that I don't know, bro. To anyone who gets in my WrestleMania plans, you're 0-3 against me. Mind your damn business. Yeah. Bro, WrestleMania has not been Cody's pay-per-view. The dude lost 39, 40, night one, 41. So what the hell is Cody Rhodes talking about? He's 0-3 when it comes to anyone getting involved in WrestleMania plans. Travis Scott saved John Cena and helped him win at Travis Scott was the one who helped John Cena get number 17. So Cody Rhodes is just this is what I mean. Like, people don't pay close attention to what they say, but like I do. Of course, people say you're looking too much into it, but like it's hard not to look into it when it's just lies. Cody Rhodes, he lost last year. The last time I checked, he's not 0-3 at WrestleMania. What the hell is he talking? I don't get it. And then we get the MJFs being talked to by Solo, who still hasn't had a WrestleMania moment. Jeff Cobb, whose legacy has been absolutely destroyed. And then we get Jeff Cobb taking the pin. Oh, speaking of, yeah, Jeff Cobb took the pin last night for no reason in a makeshift tag team that better end with Damian turning on Truth, because this tag team is just a mixed match of people who creative had no plans for whatsoever. And then we get Trick Williams and Lil Yachty having their little thing, but yeah, Lil Yachty said that he's full time now, and I love this, dude, because bro, I swear, bro, I was worried that Lil Yachty would go back to what he was doing and everything. But bro, Lil Yachty and Trick Williams is such a great combination. It was a great idea. So I love the fact that they're together, man. Like I love the fact that they're doing their thing. Trick Williams having his ad libs be provided by Lil Yachty. Lil Yachty getting involved or whatnot. I love this. This is great. Whatever they're trying to do with Travis Scott last year, this right here is perfect with just Trick Williams and Lil Yachty is perfect. But yeah, the gingerbread man turns out to be Sami Zayn, of course, and this is just Sami's whole heel thing. Like they're finally being smart, listening to the audience, and not trying to push Sammy Hogan. Another great thing is that the open challenges for the U.S. title is finally over. So they're not being lazy with the title. Well, they're lazy with all the titles, which is why main roster championship gold means absolutely nothing. Just look what they're doing with the WWE championship. Drew McIntyre should be the face of the company. But yeah, we're not having meaningless exhibition matches with jobbers or people having their rematch because they didn't win the gold last time, having their match and rematch, and then oh yeah, I'm going to challenge you for the U.S. title this week, even though I lost last week, and then yeah, finally over. That's over. That's great. What a great concept by John Cena, just ruined by Triple H's like lack of creative when it comes to the mid card. They did Mello dirty, and Mello hasn't even been heard of since. I'm not even gonna lie, Mello hasn't been heard of since. That's strange to me, very strange. And then we go backstage because Trick and Lil Yachty got hit with the candy cane. Yeah, that no exaggeration. They got assaulted by a candy cane, and then Rolls Royce car keys and Solo Sikoa are talking backstage and pretty much just talking about how Solo. I'm not even gonna. I had this on mute, but probably Solo was being sarcastic or whatever. But yeah, he's talking about how there's always a place in Solo's family. But like, I think that if you are in Solo's MJF's bloodline, thing, I think that's a death sentence like the Don Callis family, like that's just, it's got that cheese touch like Dire of a Wimpy Kid. Anyways, we get the trail of tape, which is pretty accurate, because I Danhausen 300 pounds, so and so yeah, 6'8", yeah, so yeah, all of that's accurate. And then Danhausen ends up winning. There's nothing to really say about this, I guess. I mean, other than Danhausen, having the Miz have Pyro blow up in his face, and then he beat Miz with the most devastating move of all time, the fruity fruit roll up. Yeah, but then Blake Monroe gets advertised because WWE hates surprises. And then we get Rhea Ripley, who on the microphone says absolutely nothing, says that she's a fighting champion, just like Cody just says that they're fighting champions, but don't really fight. Like just cut promos and then have mid matches and then have their matches end up in DQs or yeah, DQs or I don't know, clean finishes. Or yeah, DQs, clean finishes, or so something like that. But it's like they don't get pinned or anything. Like Cody Rhodes, I don't think Cody Rhodes has been pinned clean since April 4th. I think April 2nd or April 2nd, 2022. Since Cody Rhodes returned, I can't really think of a time where Cody Rhodes has actually been pinned clean. I don't know. And whenever Rhea Ripley's in a match and she has to lose, it's always like a DQ, and then she wins by DQ. So it's like Triple H books Rhea Ripley to get attacked, and then that causes her to have a victory. So she's got a victory under her belt. Even if Rhea's facing someone who can't afford a loss, he'll book her to win by DQ. And then he goes, and then she'll go backstage, and he'll sniff her hair, and run his fingers through it, and put his body on hers, and give her hugs and tell her how great she is, and give her all the championships in the world. And yeah, but Rhea Ripley, she manages to say nothing, says that I'm open to challenges. So apparently, instead of having a storyline lined up like Vince used to, Triple H is just, gonna put her in open challenges, apparently. If she's not gonna be if she's not gonna be a tag team, she's gonna so yeah, open challenges. Yeah, open challenges. Open challenges. Yeah, totally. Open challenges for your women's championship. You do that lazy booking for, I don't know, a mid card title, but not your. Bro, I'm telling you, just creative incompetence. Yeah, but then JC Jane ends up the one to accept, and then Nick Aldis comes out. So usually when he comes out, you already know what's up. They're gonna do the lazy thing. Universe mode, only 2 animations. You're either gonna make a singles match or a tag match. So he makes a tag match. Pretty lazy. But yeah, after that, I mean, just a DQ because no one can ever pin Rhea clean. So yeah, DQ, which means that JC Jane and Sol Ruka have both lost their main roster debuts in the same week. Yay! That totally just I don't get what this does for anyone. And yeah, and then we get another advertisement for Roman Reigns next Monday, winning the title that was made because he didn't defend his undisputed title. And then we get Jacob and the Usos talking backstage. And yeah, but now we're gonna get, possibly Rhea Ripley, who is your WWE Women's Champion, in a tag team feud with Fatal Influence and Charlotte and Alexa. So yeah, just put singles world title gold on someone, and then have them have a meaningless 6 woman tag feud. Yep. Oh, on top of that, by the way, something that I find strange is that Gunther has been failed by the company 100%, and watered down completely. But the fact that JC Jane she's got more heel heat than Gunther does, and he's the man who retires John and Goldberg and AJ Styles. That's kind of interesting. So then after that, we get Ricky Starks, advertisement because WWE really hates surprises. And then we get Jacob Fatu telling the Usos earlier not to interfere in the match. So then they're just up on the stage, but the only problem is they're not on the right brand. I think they got their colors confused because this isn't Raw. They actively every week tell us there's a brand split, and then on the same episodes they tell us there's a brand split and nobody can come to other brands because they'll be escorted out by security. They have other people on the brands not being escorted out by security. It is the blip. It is logic holes, man. I'm not even trying to be a hater, because people, will say anything is hate. If you point out the truth, it's hate. If you say something somebody doesn't like, it's hate. But me pointing out this detail of a constant plot hole is not hate. It's just me using my brain. They actively tell us every night. Yeah, well, there's a brand split, but they're on the show. Doesn't make sense to me, buddy. Oh yeah, and then Solo loses as always because Solo's like one of the biggest jobbers, and then he's like running a faction somehow full of jobbers. The only one who's actually worth a damn, who seems to be worth a damn being booked, booking wise, has to be Tama Tonga. But yeah, after Jacob wins, he gets attacked, and then he takes out literally everyone. And then Tonga Loa falls off the table, so Jacob has to put him back on. And then he does the splash, the chops, the crotch chop through the table. And then the end credits where we just have Raw stars on the show looking at Jacob just doing this bloodline thing but now they're faces, so it's supposed to be new and exciting. Nobody cares. The bloodline is over. Damn. I don't care about this new bloodline because where's it gonna go? Their faces, cool. Now what? But yeah, we get Triple H's name all on the screen, so which means that the show is over. Because, pro wrestling and end credits like it's a movie, even though that, there's still there's an intense show, there's an intense stare down between the Usos and Jacob. Just some credits. It's very distracting. It's always been immersion breaking to me. But yeah, I remember when Solo was I remember when Solo I remember when Solo was supposed to be the biggest star. Like he was supposed to be like John Cena, but really he tried his best to pass the torch down and just put his body on the line for Solo and get buried by him, and then that 41 match losing streak. It keeps coming, man. I just don't understand, but yeah, it's none of my business what they do to destroy talent or whatever. But yeah, that's about it for the SmackDown, post release, and then they kept releasing people throughout the night too. That was pretty crazy, but yeah, this SmackDown after Mania was And the fact that Joe Tessitore usually sounds depressed, like he hates his job and he just does not want to be there, is kind of funny too, because he says, "Yeah, we have a lot of action planned for tonight, y'all. Yes, we do." And then yeah, just yeah, he feels how we feel every time we finish watching the show. But yeah, that's about it though.